What's up, guys？ 我是大金，欢迎来到我的频道。在这里呢，我们会一起来看一些在网络上流传的一些让人脑洞炸裂的一些玄奇影片哦。那在开始之前呢，请帮我订阅、按赞，非常感谢。那我们话不多说，赶快开始吧 ！Let's go! Alrighty.这真的吗？看起来蛮真实的哦，但是这么清楚吗？真的，在亚利桑那州，哇，看起来好像是什么哪吒三太子出巡吗？大家看得出来这个是假的吗？还是真的 ？OK。
They're able to read, they're able to play ping pong, ride a bike. I mean, insane stuff.
Is that because of frequencies, being able to feel it?
It's several techniques being used. Different groups use different techniques, but they all get to the same result.
Yellow, blue, yellow, orange, blue, green.
Scientifically measuring the amount of light inside the mask to show that there's zero light. So technically you're not supposed to see without light. Basically you're asking your brain to control your vision.
So your brain can see.
Well, actually you don't see with your eyes, you see with your brain.
Really?
Yes, it's your brain. I mean the eyes are just the receptor, you know, it's like the optical lens.
Got it.
You know, but actually vision is controlled by the brain.
Wow.
So if there is no light, technically you're not supposed to see because there's no reflection on objects. And yet, with that training, you can see completely blindfolded in the dark.
这就是李嗣涔教授在做的这个遥视的一种嘛，就是小朋友，但是好像是我觉得是有岁数的限制，对不对？好像是小朋友才行。
Why were the flash floods in Texas so bad? Last week, rivers in Texas flooded as high as 26 feet. Generally, flash floods happen because there's a lot of rain very quickly, and the ground just can't absorb it fast enough. It's worse in dry areas or cities where the ground is pavement. In the case of Texas, the south central region got about a foot of rain in a day. This area is prone to flash floods, but the lack of warning made it worse. Usually in an emergency like this, an array of systems is used to try and reach everyone. Text, social media, knocking on doors. The National Weather Service did issue warnings beforehand, but the county didn't send its first mobile push alert until Sunday. 2 days later, NOAA, which is a federal agency, has had budget cuts. But the $2 billion cut the White House wants hasn't actually happened yet. The National Weather Service, which is under NOAA, reportedly does have staffing issues, with almost half of their offices at a 20% vacancy or more. The Austin-San Antonio Warning Coordination Meteorologist position is empty. According to NOAA's website, it is a coordinator. So their key work takes place weeks or months in advance. Some say this job would have been helpful during the storm, which is one of the reasons why some members of Congress are calling for an investigation. But some say it's not that one job that would have made the difference. Another reason this was so bad is climate change. Warmer atmospheres can hold more moisture, which is another reason why the heaviest storms in Texas dropped 20% more water than they did in the 1950s. One thing is for sure, weather monitoring is a complex process that requires a lot of moving parts. You need satellites, which means someone needs to build them and launch them. You need scientists to analyze the data so you can develop early warning systems. Budget cuts in those kinds of agencies help no one in a disaster.
我们的好朋友前 CIA 分析师 John Ramirez.
Where does remote viewing and that stuff fall in? Which category?
That's MASINT.
That's MASINT as well?
I would put it in the MASINT because there's a branch of MASINT that is like biological MASINT or biometric MASINT.
测量与特征情报是情报领域的一个专业术语，一种情报收集方式，能够探测 追踪并识别目标所具有的独特物理或技术特征，如热量、辐射、振动或化学痕迹等。这些信息通常难以通过传统监视手段获取。
Biometric MASINT. Okay.
And human brain MASINT is a real thing. It's signatures coming from the human brain.
Whoa.
And so that...
They can measure that?
Yeah, you can. I mean, Stanford University is...
Yeah, but I mean,
things like that.
Do you think they still do it?
I would think so, yeah.
So
I think that it's still a field of study because humans had magnetic sense at one time. Just like whales and cetaceans, they could sense the magnetic field changes in the earth, and they use these creatures use it to navigate.
Mm-hmm.
And every time there's some disruption, solar flares or whatever that causes a disruption, they get lost and they beach themselves,
right?
Because they get lost. And the humans, they detected that we have a dormant capability of doing that. Whether it's dormant or it was made dormant deliberately, I don't know. That's a whole nother area of discussion. But humans had that, or still do, a dormant sense of Earth's magnetic field. Also, your human skin is a MASINT collector in that the sweat glands are helical antennas. So underneath your skin, there are little helical antennas, and they act like electromagnetic antennas, and they can measure the wavelength that your skin is able to detect.
Huh.
It's up in the 400, 500 gigahertz range, up there, millimeter wave, they call it. But, you think about how to affect a human being, zap them with that range of signals.
And they start sweating?
They start doing all kinds of things. Or you can use acoustic
right.
Signatures, acoustic signals, and you can make somebody sick.
Mm-hmm.
Or in the worst extreme, you can make them vomit.
Oh my God!
Because your abdominal cavity, there's a resonance there in the audio range, and if you hit it with that audio range, all of a sudden things in there starts to quiver and you get physically sick.
Interesting. 频率的话可以影响脑波，可以影响生理状态。哇塞 ，Alrighty.
If you thought that the Diddy verdict was wild, just listen to what the US government said today. Axios has just obtained a memo where the DOJ and FBI concluded that they have no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein blackmailed any powerful figures, that they have no evidence that he kept a client list, and they have no evidence he was murdered. To support these statements, they released over 10 hours of footage that they say indicates no one entered the area of Epstein's cell on the night he died. But, as you can see, this footage is not from the cameras directly outside his cell. That's because in 2020, the jail revealed that unfortunately, that footage had been permanently destroyed by accident due to technical errors. The memo also adds that investigators found no evidence that could predicate an investigation against currently uncharged third parties, and this is despite in February Pam Bondi being asked if the justice system would release Epstein's client list, to which she responded,
"It's sitting on my desk right now to review."
And then, just to top it off, remember the truckloads of Jeffrey Epstein documents that the FBI promised they were going to release? Well, now the memo says that, quote, no further disclosure of Epstein-related material would be appropriate or warranted. So it looks like that's that. This is where the official story of Jeffrey Epstein seems to end. The question is, what do you guys think?
Epstein File 艾普斯丁吗？它的中文叫艾普斯丁的档案。Alrighty.
Well, breaking the news. Scientists are warning tomorrow and for the next few months, days will be shorter than ever. Some of the shortest in history because the Earth is spinning a lot faster than usual. There was filler space there because I needed everybody to understand what the fuck I just read and said out of my mouth. The Earth is spinning. Let's speed this up. Come on. At this point, I think I can speak for a good majority of us. We don't give a fuck. No. At this day and age, brother, we don't care. Let's just go ahead and get this. Let's just go ahead and get the ball going. Like, what the fuck do you mean the Earth is going to spin faster than usual? And days will be the shortest. They said as of early as of tomorrow, the day could be shortest. It could be 6 o'clock, sun's down. I beg your finest pardon?
所以这个是在大概是7月几号？7月4号、7月6号。已经有报道说，我们这边因为受月亮的影响，所以说呢，我们这个月会有几天是地球转的特别快的几天。但其实他说快的话，也就是0.01秒还是0.001秒之类的，所以说并没有那么严重，好吗？Alrighty.
Do you think the moon's real?
No, absolutely not. The Dogon tribe in Africa talks about the time before the moon. Literally, there was a time before the moon, which means what? Which means the moon was implanted there. It was not made by, quote unquote, the original OG God. It was implanted there. And like literally, there's a whole science about how it connects to Saturn and how it's literally like an energy suck station, how it's influencing the water and the magnetism of the reproductive cycle, the hormonal cycle. We're water. We're 70-something% water. If it affects the ocean, is it affecting us? Absolutely. Saturn is communicating with the moon, and there's like a connection there, and it's pulling energy. And there was a time before the moon, which means it was planted there. Yeah.
Right, Saturn, huh?
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that Saturn is like Satan or something. And when you listen to Saturn, I don't know if you've ever heard of sort of this tone that comes from each planet, but when you get to Saturn, it sounds like hell.
I haven't particularly sat and listened to Saturn, but yeah, I'm not scared. Like, maybe I'll listen to it. Yeah.
Okay. Ready.
Sí, dos lunas y se ven las estrellas ahí.
Livermore, CA.
Chicken. Voice activated. Defrost!
Look right here. Look right here. Right here. Look. Look, watch. What is that? What is that? And it's just gone, bruh. Look at this shit. It's there, and now it's not. It's there, and now it's not, bruh. What is that? Bruh. What is that? What is that?
Oh yeah. 什么鬼东西呀？什么鬼东西
Bruh. What is that? One more time. Bruh. What is that? What is that?
Cool. OK， 所以我原本我第一眼看到这一个影片的时候，我以为是 AI generated， 结果不是。这个地方呢是在罗马尼亚图尔达市的一个古老地下盐矿，现在被改造成一个结合观光、休闲、疗愈功能的地下主题乐园。所以说这是一个游乐园呢，好酷哦，好未来感的游乐园哦。
It's hard to talk about dimensions. But I was standing behind an alien in a spacecraft, just a small one, which I understand get bigger and smaller depending upon. At any rate, he said, "You shouldn't be here." And I said, "I know, I realize this is a strange place, but before I go, could I ask you a question?" And this is really a very strong memory in my head. I don't remember what I had for dinner last night, but this is in there. I'm telling myself I'm silly again. Dude, it's not in there. At any rate, and he said, "Okay." And I said, "How do you get from here to Alpha Centauri?" We can't do that. The only thing that we think about is I have to go really fast for a really long time. How is it that you can go to Alpha Centauri without any problem? And essentially he said, you wouldn't understand. So I said, I agree that that's a problem. However, I know that you have access to my mental thoughts. I mean, you're not talking to me with your mouth. You have access to my mental thoughts, and I understand that. Can you use what information I have in my head and try to explain it to me? And he said, well, do you know what a Rubik's Cube is? And I said, oh, yeah, my son can do them in 2 minutes. He says, okay, so imagine a Rubik's Cube, but not necessarily just the 6 sides. Just imagine the concept of a Rubik's Cube. And I said, okay. Now imagine on each one of the tiles on the Rubik's Cube has a chart of the elements, an elemental chart. And you say, oh yeah, I know what that is. You know, I've had science in school and everything. He says, now, on each of the other 5 surfaces, there's also elemental charts. And I said, so, okay, but what's the deal? And he said, well, you're thinking about going that way very fast for a very long time. What he didn't say to me, which I'm thinking right now, there's no space and time. I'm only thinking that right now. That wasn't part of the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, so what you do to get to Alpha Centauri is you just twist the cube. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I told you wouldn't understand. And he said, when the periodic table occurs in a different place, you're at that place. And that's just a very crude explanation. But you have to stop thinking about go that way for a long time very fast. It doesn't work.
OK， 所以这一位是 F. Holmes Skip Atwater， 是前美国陆军情报人员，也是著名的远距观看，也就是遥视 （remote viewing） 专家。他曾在冷战期间领导美军的远距观看项目，就是遥视项目，协助军方搜集神秘情报，包括 UFO 相关现象的调查。退役后，他成为意识研究机构蒙罗研究院 （The Monroe Institute） 总裁，专注于人类意识扩展与超感知能力的研究。他的经历使他成为研究 UFO 和意识科学领域的重要人物之一。
They used to train their military staff to get out of their body and go remote view the Soviets to gain access to secret, information. Remote viewing has its roots in military, right? And so remote viewing is cool in particular because there's something called scientific remote viewing, which means that you could do a blind test or a double blind test, which means that you get coordinates and those coordinates link you to a location. So that can be proven, right? Like you can be alone in a room, get these coordinates that mean nothing at all, and then link that to a location and then prove that, yes, you are indeed getting out of your body, going to a location and seeing what's there at that location.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So, interesting fact, the cedar waxwing likes to eat berries and things off of trees. Problem being, in the southeast, in the wintertime, the sugar in the berries concentrates, and then when the weather warms up, it breaks the sugar down, fermenting the sugars, turning it into alcohol. Notice how this bird is just chilling and hanging out with a berry in his mouth? This bird is drunk off his ass right now.
Oh, wow.
Okay, what I'm going to share with you guys is what we know to be real and true. And when I tell you this, I urge you to not restrict your thinking to technology. We've been collecting UAP data for more than 5 years with electromechanical signaling. We call this our dog whistle. What the technology is classified. Generally speaking, we see 3 to 5 different classifications of UAP per day during operations. To make sense of our data, we had to develop a lexicon, and we base it off of flight characteristics. Again, there are 9 different flights or classes, and some of these UAPs may be the same type of UAP under different flight configurations. But at this point, given their behavior, we are confident that they do not align with your typical extraterrestrial explanation. Again, each UAP has different characteristics. Some tumble, some spin, some flicker, some just look like a living being flying in the sky. UAPs are extremely hard to image. What is seen with the naked eye generally is not what is seen under camera, and we do not know why. Class 1 is the tetra. It usually spins, it tumbles, it looks like a black body. Sometimes it flickers multiple times per second. It appears to have a cloud or vapor around it. We've seen class 1s in formations up to 20 to 23 in a flock or formation. Classification 2 is known as a tic-tac, but I feel like I should go through classifications 2 through 9 in another video, so there will be a part 2.
Okay, so this little guy is called the Gita Mini. It's basically a mini robot on wheels that follows you around and carries your stuff. It's like having a tiny personal assistant that's always there to haul around whatever you need, up to 20 pounds. And if you're thinking, that doesn't look big enough, there's actually a much bigger version called the Gita Plus. That one can actually haul double the weight and has a lot more space. So it's great if you're carrying a lot more heavier stuff or like to go grocery shopping and get bigger things. Now here's the cool part. It's got cameras and sensors on the front, so it knows exactly who to follow and how to dodge obstacles. And it doesn't care where you take it. Concrete, dirt, grass, whatever. It just adapts. I've been using mine for grocery runs, and let me tell you, not pushing a cart around is really nice. Now sure, you'll get some stares, but honestly, just own it. You're saving yourself a ton of extra effort.
You know, it just carries your stuff with you, like you put your groceries in there.
Yeah, that's what I figured. That's what I was telling him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, and as a bonus, it's also got a built-in Bluetooth speaker, so you can blast some tunes when you're out with your friends. Honestly, I can see this being super helpful for older folks or for anyone who has trouble carrying heavy stuff. So if you're looking for a hands-free way to get through your daily errands, definitely check out the Gita Mini. I'll put the link in my bio within my profile page.
Alright， 这就是今天分享的影片啦。如果还喜欢这些影片的话，请帮我订阅、按赞，非常感谢。我们下次见 ，Have a good one， 拜拜。